This is gonna be about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which I have been playing a lot recently. Jedi Fallen Order, right, which came before a Survivor. Fallen Order though, like, is a very fun, enjoyable game, action adventure style game, right? It is linear. There is a backtracking in it, and it is kind of like a semi-open world type game. A combat. So in the game, right? Combat, as a basic light attacks, heavy attacks, blocking, parrying, right? A jump, attacks. Plus, as well, you also get two different fighting styles, right? A single saber and you have a double edge, a lightsaber, and yeah, it's just mostly about parrying though. So a parrying, right? So is all about a timing, like your block, right? So at a certain enemies that attack, I will attack, do like a certain attack, and you have to block at the attack like at the right time, and yeah. But the combat feels very smooth, though at times it can kind of feel janky, right? But like it is very enjoyable. Lightsaber combat, right? It no later on, like in the series, right? Jedi a Survivor, at the game after it, they added more fighting styles, so added more Jedi variations, right? But for the most part, this one though, he only had the two, and yeah, but like it was very enjoyable, like for those two. Now the overall adventure, like so, the adventure like in the game, right? Jedi Fallen Order, you're trying to restore Jedi Order. It is a very small scale, adventure kind of story. It's very small scale, and not like a whole lot of characters. And these, like in terms of the characters themselves, the characters they're not well known characters. So there's no Luke Skywalker or a Mandalorian like in this, but like they're kind of EA. Like I'm pretty sure EA made up Cal Kestis, or Cal was in previous a Star Wars lore, but they really made him and the characters around him interesting though. Like I really wanted to see more of this character, and yeah. But still, they are still well written here. Like the writing and the dialogue though, like is done very well, and like it has some tropes here and there, but it is very enjoyable though to see these characters interact. But the overall adventure here now, so the adventure, right? The action adventure, it kind of takes like a pacing similar to an Uncharted game, right? So kind of like the adventure, you gotta go to a certain area, land, find a certain artifact, find a certain treasure, or find a certain lore, important piece of lore. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is very much about the lore, right? So the lore, the ancient order, right? The lore behind the various worlds that you find, and yeah. But this one though as well, I like it because like when you play Uncharted games, right? Uncharted does a great balance between the action, the platforming, the climbing, and puzzles as well. This one, the same thing. A Jedi Fallen Order reminds me of that. How it does a very well balanced game, like in terms of the adventure, the pacing, and yeah. For the most part, it is linear. It is linear, but there is backtracking, so you can always go back to previous areas for there is extra things like extra loot, there is collectibles, cosmetic pickups, and yeah. But the game though, for the most part, like if you're playing the story is very, it is a very linear type story. I do go back to previous planets to complete the next part of the story, and but yeah. So the adventure, there's also climbing, so there's gonna be lots of climbing up like on poles, climbing on these forest walls, right? So branch walls or whatever, like when there's branches like on the wall they have to climb onto, and yeah, ledges, platforming, and yeah. There is also other things too, like loopholes. So there's gonna be like there's this one area like in the game where there's kind of like this ice slide. There's an ice slide, and then there's like this wind. There's like a strong wind, so you gotta go like on the ice slide, jump onto the wind. It's gonna literally push you up to the next platform, and then you're gonna continue sliding onto the main objective area. And yeah, so it is at the basic platformer stuff like in these third person action games. But I thought at the platforming I was very fluent. Sometimes, however, it's kind of unclear what you can or I can't climb, right, in some of the level design. But for the most part though, as you get used to it though, like it's very easy. You also have collectibles. So he has the main character has a poncho, this cool ass poncho, a design, right? So he has, and there's these chests, right, that you have to unlock. So you have to find these chests in the world, and there's like different poncho styles, right? That's not so much it's not so much like our uniform change. It's like a poncho color, right? So you're just changing the color like of the poncho. And yeah, I like this though. I actually like this because I do like a customization, like color customization, like on main characters, right? As opposed to it being a lock behind like a paywall. But I do like it though. I do like how they I did that here. There's also other things too, so you can there's a ship at the mantis. I customize that, the color of that. There's this little bot, what's it called again? A BD or whatever it's called. You can also customize that, and yeah, but yeah, for the most part though, you are collecting like for those a uniform cosmetics. There's also lightsabers, the lightsaber customization, which to me isn't really like a big deal. It's not really a big deal. You can unlock newer pieces after the lightsaber, and your lightsaber can look very different. Just the handle, just the holster like of the lightsaber, right? This one, the lightsaber color, you can get various lightsaber light colors, right? But it actually came later on, so Jedi a Survivor gave you more colors, right? But this one probably only give you seven different colors. For the most part, the game you only get the two colors, right? Blue and green lightsaber. So I gave you a traditional lightsaber colors. You later on get light blue, you get orange, magenta, and yeah. So Jedi a Survivor, right? You're there. What I really like about the game is, some of the enemies are the vast amount of enemy variety here, like is very impressive. So you also you get like these big I don't remember the names like of some of the enemies, right? So there is obviously a stormtroopers, there is storm flame troopers, there is storm melee troopers, and various different types of stormtroopers that you have that you fight. You also go to different planets, and every planet has a different biodiversity of animals that you fight, right? Not so much animals, like some of them like are more beasts or insects, right? But yeah, and the enemies, they really stand out. They really stand out, and and they really make the game a challenging like at times, but a fun type of challenge, and not a challenge that's tedious, but very fun. And yeah, so I really like the enemy designs, right? There's one I believe it's called the Kashyyyk, Kaisk, or whatever it is, like this big belly, this fat blob type enemy, like with these long ass limbs, right? But this is a frustrating enemy, but it is very challenging. It is a very fun type of challenge, just to get past this enemy. So you have the enemies, and mostly though it's just all about parrying. The enemies is just all about parrying against the enemies, knowing like when they're gonna attack, learning their attack patterns. I just like with any third-person action or third-person adventure style game, and yeah. But once you know at the parrying at the game, that comes easy, right? If you're on PlayStation or Xbox, you just press, I believe it's L1, so you just have your hand over the L1 button, right, and then wait for the right time to block, and then that's your basic parry, and yeah. So you also have bosses as well, like in the game, bosses, main bosses too. Like I won't say much, due to spoilers, right? But the game has been out 4 years now. But the second sister, ninth sister, you have Taran Malakos, right? Other bosses as well, right? You have the giant, frog boss, and yeah. So the bosses, I really like how they did them, and when you defeat certain bosses, there's this animation, cool ass takedown animation, right? That where and the main character will do like this acrobatic move and then finally take down the enemy, and yeah. So there is a visual. So visually though, Jedi Fallen Order did kind of struggle in terms of the graphics of the game, right? For the most part, though, the game looks very good, right? It looks good. Just some of the textures in the environment and the characters and some of the ships. Sometimes, though, because I don't know if the textures, they look off or the resolution kind of looks off at times. Especially like when you go into cutscenes. Some of the cutscenes, the resolution kind of looks off. Or I don't know, like it was, that character kind of looks a little milky, right? But, Jedi has the same problem like with Jedi, a Survivor, right? At the game that came after this. But yeah, Fallen Order, like I realized it. Especially if you go in environments, so if you're going like forest areas, and then like when you look around like at the bushes and the trees, you can kind of see that blur. There's a slight blur, and yeah, there's a motion blur. Like in the game, there's a motion blur. I don't know, but yeah, the motion blur does exist like in the game as well, right? But there's an option to turn down film grain and motion blur, right? So you can turn off a motion blur entirely, and yeah. So once you finish a game, right? I beat the game. There is this arcade kind of challenge. So there's this kind of like arcade, so you can challenge various different enemies again, right? And I forgot to mention earlier, there is also bounty hunters. There's also these, bounty hunters like, that come after you. But, you can literally set up your own arena and then set up like a bunch of different enemies. And then the enemies, they fight each other. Then they eventually fight you. And yeah, and then you see like who comes out on top. And yeah, but that's after you beat the game, right? I believe there is also New Game Plus. I can't remember. There's also, New Game. With a lot of these adventure style games, there'll be a New Game Plus, but I can't remember. But yeah, once I got, once you unlock the, lightsaber and understand the platform, and the game really starts to get going. It gets very fun. It gets very fun over time, right? The more you play it, sometimes, there is some backtracking. Like, why am I going back to this planet when I already been here 2 times already? But to this same planet, right, or to this same area, the story really makes up for that. It really makes up for that, a backtracking. And yeah. So there is also these extra stims. That's the last point. The stims, you literally make them to, you find them to give you extra health. The health stem upgrades, right? Pickups. So this is going to, restore health, right? And it's going to give you more of the stem capacity. And yeah. So the stem upgrades, you got to explore and find them like in the world. And yeah, are they really beneficial? They are really beneficial to you. And yeah. There's a meditation points. There's the save points of the game. So there's the checkpoints of the game. But meditation points are also the load points, right? I believe. And I don't think Jedi's Fallen Order, you couldn't fast travel. I don't remember. But a Survivor, you could fast travel. But yeah, so these meditation points, they basically act like a checkpoint. They're basically a checkpoint for you, right? And yeah.